What you say? Billy Joe Saunders has did it again. He has made headlines all for the wrong reasons. We're talking about a two-division champion, right? You know, was previously WBO middleweight champion, then super middleweight champion at the moment, WBO side of the house. He made a video, okay? During these times, COVID-19, shout out to everyone that's going through it. Much success, much blessings, you know, to make it up out of it. Billy Joe Saunders took it upon himself to come out. I guess he was bored. Look, we just seen John Jones get caught in the street for doing something crazy. You know, he had to get out the house because it was driving him nuts, right? Now, Billy Joe Saunders has been known for doing this when we wasn't on lockdown. Billy Joe Saunders has been known to basically go through and create absolutely poor judgment when it comes to scenarios in the street, acting like he's selling freaking drugs to people, having them do something with one another as far as, you know, kissing one another and all this other stuff, right? But most recently, he took the wrong time, man. I'm pretty sure it's a lot of fighters that's on lockdown right now that's going through it. But Billy Joe Saunders decided to take upon himself and create a video. That video was absolutely distasteful. And he probably felt that way, but as a fighter and knowing his personality, he thought it was funny. He thought it was hilarious. You know, this man actually takes to a heavy bag that's out in the barn on his property. You know, thanks to him, he's had the opportunity to make a pretty decent living. He has a barn, right? So he goes out there and he's explaining, you know, to the general public that's watching, if they have an old girl or old woman, he's about to explain to them what needs to happen if you're on day 6 or 7, cooped up in the house with family, you know, your girl. So he goes on to basically explain how, if by chance she's talking too much and getting on your nerve, he basically explains what you should do in light of that. And at first, when I looked at it, I thought he was maybe coming out at a, you know, towards another fighter. I thought he may have been trying to make light of the COVID-19, you know, out in the barn, of course, you know, talking about knocking something out, knocking out the virus, something to that extent. But when he started talking about, hey, if you have an old girl, old woman, and then I said, okay, this is right then and there. He just stapled what the talking point's going to be, right? So he carried on and started talking about, you know, you've been hearing her talk, and she's really been basically agitating you for the 6th or 7th day. And, you know, all the mannerisms pointed towards him just losing the whole point of interest. You know, for people to tune in and say, okay, this is a funny video. When he basically started talking about how she was getting on his nerve, how possibly she may get on his nerve, trying to explain to somebody else if their girl was getting on their nerve on the 6th or 7th day of being locked up. So he frames up, you know, he frames up and throws the power shot first. That's what people is going to remember. He threw the right hand first and then a left hook. He's basically saying, you know, pop her in the chin. And when he popped her, when he popped the bag up top, he's saying, oh, she's probably saying right now, oh, I can't believe he just did that. I can't believe he just hit me. No, if you hit any woman in the chin most of the time with a power shot and she's not expecting it, she might go down. You know what I'm saying? But he made light of her still being on her feet just to basically set up the second part of his scenario. So he hits her with the right hand, and then he explains to the fans, y'all, he explains to lean heavy on the left foot for balance, you know, get the power from your legs. And then he execute a left hook to the body. When I saw that video, all I wanted to know is, what was his people going to do about it? I really wasn't concerned about what we're going to do about it over here, because we have nothing to say. except I was curious to see how many media outlets talk about it. Real talk. But I wasn't too concerned about the promotions or anything else. I really wanted to see what they was going to do across the pond, because this is like a remediated trend with Billy Joe Saunders, right? And believe it or not, they took action, man. I was surprised. I was like, shit, they might be irritated too. They might be tired of being cooped up in the house. And this knucklehead, this big dummy get on here and explain to you how to throw the power shot and then dig to the body with the hook on a female. They took action. From my understanding, they suspended this license. Now, of course, it's not the first time in boxing that you're going to get a domestic abuse incident, right? But this is good for them to take action as quick as they did for someone who's just basically creating a scenario to encourage or promote domestic violence. They took action. They suspended this fool's license. So I'm curious to know what else is going to happen. Being that this goes on in combat sports quite often. Domestic violence in general is rampant in combat sports. But for Billy Joe Saunders to get up there and make light of it the way he did, WBO super middleweight champion, and to act like it was fun and games, and that, if you cooped up in the house and your girl's been in your face too much, guess what? This is what you should do. Basically, you're encouraging someone to incite abuse upon someone. So my main concern was, what is his people going to do? Are they going to overlook it? Are they going to just take it for him just making a light video in the wake of, the lockdown? What's going to happen? And, they suspended his license. Now, of course, we don't know how long his license is going to be suspended. You know what I'm saying? It's not like Billy Joe Saunders have a mass, I'm talking about a mass of hardcore fans that follow him and just enamored with who he is as a fighter. That's not the case. Plenty of his fans probably knew he was an asshole before he made the video and during the video and after the video. That's real talk. That's a lot of his fans. They probably knew that about Billy Joe Saunders. He's been that type of dude before this video came out again. So what does it do for him? We'll see how long, because the sport is in downtime right now. So the best adequate punishment to administer to Billy Joe Saunders during this time where we're not even doing anything, is to take his boxing license. The whole point of interest is how long his boxing license is going to be suspended. That's what we want to know. Because if you reinstate his boxing license, time that boxing spends up and these restrictions are lifted, then it's all for naught, man. It's bullshit. Because if you reinstate his license immediately once boxing resumes, it proves my point. That means the only reason you did it was you're basically saying, hey, Billy Joe, at this point in time, a lot of people are on edge. They're cooped up in the house and everything. They're little touches. They're a bit more sensitive than usual. Their interest is pretty much focused on the computer or their phones. We're going to suspend your license. All right? Don't worry about it. Now, if by chance the restrictions lift and they start spinning up promotions again you see fights that's pending, and all of a sudden Billy Joe Saunders is giving his license back within just a little bit over 30-day period, it's a bunch of bullshit. They didn't really take any concern. They just did what they had to do right now because nothing's going on, people. You have to dig and peel back the layers just a little bit. That's what I'm going off of. I want to see how long Billy Joe Saunders' license is going to be suspended. And will he indeed get that big fight, which was looming on the horizon, with whoever it is? If it's Canelo Alvarez, if it's anybody that's in his super middleweight division, let's see what happens once the restrictions and bans are lifted, and then we start to bleed back into the normalcy of society. Let's see what happens, y'all. What's going on, Skip Crumpler, box father in the building, man? Salute to you. But I must say this: out of all the people who respond, shout out to the media outlets that responded. But I knew, I just knew somehow, some way, man. It was only a matter of time before some American boxer responded, and Miss T-Rex herself put out her own video, which I can kind of laugh at this video because I can't get mad at a woman responding to what a man did when it was in bad taste. All right. I'm gonna be a hundo with you, right? A lot of guys still will probably feel some type of way because whenever a woman attempts to try to say, well, we can bring a man down to his knees if we hit him in the nutsack, if we hit him in the nuts. That's just the old telltale of whenever you want to fight a man, just go down there and hit him in the crotch and they'll drop. It's not always the case. So Carissa Shields comes out with a video to counter Billy Joe Saunders, and no one can really be mad about it because he basically targeted the opposite gender. He targeted as a professional fighter. So when you have another professional fighter targeting him for targeting females, then the value of her video isn't going to be as insensitive as Billy Joe Saunders. So Carissa Shields, comes out, goes close to the heavy bag and shows a woman how to throw the first punch. And then the second punch, she said, hit him right here. So if you look at right here, she's basically talking about the groin, but she say, no, not in the penis. Hit him in the nuts. And, that was kind of funny a bit, saying a little bit, because the groin in general, back then, that's all they talk about. Just hit him anywhere down the groin, kick him or punch him, whatever. Now, granted, should we be angry about a counter video to a person that has been known to have a bit more juvenility than he should at his age? I don't know, not at all. I don't think so. I think if it was a female fighter that was bringing the video out, targeting a male, this is how you shut down your husband, hit him in the nuts if he's getting on your nerve during COVID-19 lockdown, and then come with the hook and hit him with a straight right, all that. Then it would be room for us to say, well, this is a little bit distasteful, but it's not the case, man. Billy Joe Saunders came out with his targeting women. And then, Carissa Shields came out with hers targeting the groin area. You know what I'm saying? You got to call it for what it is. She wasn't targeting Billy Joe Saunders. She was targeting the groin area of any woman who's basically in the line of fire from a guy who's throwing a straight right and a left hook or whatever you want to call it, putting hands on a woman. She's basically telling you what may potentially get you the upper hand, might potentially get you the upper hand. So that's been the talk right now, man. And like I said before, this is only the beginning. It's a lot of bullshit you're going to see in the media, y'all. It's a lot of bullshit you will see when people on lockdown. Get used to it. It's going to be a lot more individuals getting in trouble. Man, I see some shit popping off that I'm saying to myself, like, not where are they parents, but damn, like, and you put one stupid ass video out, and then you keep on jumping on here and just putting out another dumbass video, acting a fool. We haven't even really been locked down for a solid month yet, y'all. We haven't been locked down for a solid month. Like, we're really not locked down, to be honest. Like, you can still leave your home, people. You can still go outside your home. This is not really lockdown. This is isolation, social distancing. You know what I'm saying? This is just all those corrective terms to tell you that, you're basically limited to what you can do in life right now. That's all this is. It's light. It's light. Well, for me, you know what I'm saying? For me, it's light. But I could say it may be a bit more intensive for individuals that have big families, younger kids, especially, in according to where you're living at. You have some kids that's not used to being in the house, out of school, or you have some kids that's not even in school. But that shit right here, not everybody is prepared for it. Seriously, not everybody prepared for this. But check this out. We got to get through it. And, like I said before, y'all pay attention to see how long Billy Joe Saunders' license is suspended. If we go through April, still the bans are in place. Put it this way, he's not getting his license back in 30 days. Okay. I would assume. So take it to May, potentially when boxing, and they're trying to say we might see some light, some activity, some energy, some life. May might be the month for that, right? So let's see what happens after then. Let's see if they're going to suspend him for six months, or what? Are they going to make an example out of him? What is going to become of this? Because I'm going to tell you, I'm looking a little bit deeper into it. Who cares if you get suspended during COVID-19? You're not losing anything because all the sports have been stopped and it's a down period and no one is doing anything. So to take his license right now, is it really something that can't be retro? Just say, for instance, boxing doesn't pick back up to June. And they say, oh, we suspended Billy Joe Saunders for 90 days, retroactive back to March 28th, 29th. Is that really going to hurt him? Because he didn't have a fight anyway. He didn't have a fight. So they're going to, if it's retroactive back 60 days when we was in a down period anyway, it's not really going to matter. Him taking his license right now means nothing. It's just good for freaking media and TV. To be honest, I'm serious. It's just something for, to put out there, dangle the carrot, and let the general public know that action was taken, especially when it's dealing with domestic abuse on women. And that's where we're going to keep it. All right. But I have some word, changing up a little bit. I have a little bit of, I want to reach out to the Georgians. You know what I'm saying? I need for you all to just hear me out right quick. To the Georgians, right? You have people, I don't know what the hell this is about, but you have individuals that haven't been on, solid confinement for a full month inside your homes, where outside was taken away and restricted. We haven't been in that type of phase yet, where we actually cannot leave the premise of our homes, right? So a video come out today of some Georgians. They want these hikers want to gather and socialize and get some fresh air. They want to mingle and talk and enjoy the sunshine. This is a gathering of people standing next to one another, visiting state parks and all that. And they want to get on camera and say, we just want to come out here and frolic around in the state park and mingle and just enjoy the fresh scenery and air. And I'm saying to myself, like, do y'all want to live? Like, we got a serious issue down here in Georgia. We have a serious issue. Besides the pollen count being 5,500 right now, we have a serious issue going on here in Georgia. That's not a laughing matter. But the point of my concern is how the civilians, right, are not taking consideration to keep their ass in the house. Stay your ass in the house or in your yard. These people want to say they hikers. So that gives them the reason to say, well, let me just walk outside with my hiking shoes on. Let's take the kids out there. What you're doing is just basically putting yourself at a liability for you to get sick and your family to get sick. Denise, what's good, man? The damn belt line. Skip Crumlin said, that's true. All sports is on lockdown. The suspension doesn't matter. That's real talk, that Skip. Denise, real talk. I'm just looking at what's going on here in Georgia. And for you to be able to breathe inside your own home with mucus or phlegm or any of that, we're talking about you're being able to breathe on your own. You're healthy enough to be able to go in the kitchen, cook you a meal, relax around the house, and just basically think positive on the bigger picture. That's what you have the ability to do. But you have Georgians down here that's leaving the house, going for jogs, meeting up at these I guess these landmarks, these state parks where you have waterfalls and small creek beds, rivers, and all this stuff. And they're gathering around as if they've been locked in the house for a cool 3 months straight, y'all. And the only place I could say, the Americans, man, what the fuck are y'all thinking? Like, do you want to come out of isolation sometime soon? Because the only way we're going to do that is the numbers increase all the way down to zero. Days go by, no new cases of COVID-19. Then and only then will Governor Kemp say, okay, I've talked to the higher ups and I'm going to make this call that we can start lifting some of the restrictions. But if by chance we are continuing to get new cases of COVID-19, how in the hell do you expect us to move forward down here in Georgia? Please, somebody explain that shit to me. Like, if y'all want to go fucking hiking, right? Why are you out there in gatherings that is more than 10 in a public area and we still have outbreaks here in Georgia? We still have active outbreaks here in the state of Georgia. And you have Americans, you have U.S. citizens, you have whoever you are that's down here saying, you know what? We just wanted to take the family out because we saw the sunshine crack through the blinds. And, my dog was going crazy. He was all happy. And the kids was running around, jumping off the couches. And I looked over and said, hey, you want to go to the park? You want to take the family out to the park? We can't be scared of COVID-19. We're better than that. Our family is too strong. We eat all our kale. We eat kale, broccoli. We drink our OJ. You know what I'm saying? We eating all our freaking essential vitamins and nutrition. Let's go to the local park. F COVID-19. Let's go. Someone in your family comes down with a sickness, and all of a sudden you want the public to feel pity for you because you're saying now, oh, my 13-year-old somehow came down with the symptoms. Knowing damn well y'all just left the freaking public park not too long ago. What's going on around the wide? Wide Promotions in the building. Salute to you, man. Real talk. He said young men are still at the parks and playing basketball. Man, I can only imagine. I haven't even went to the parks down here to see who was hooping. Real talk. I haven't even been there. But shout out to Cincinnati, man. I know y'all can't wait to get back on the scene and attend these boxing cards, man. Denise said, I was at Sam Club in Marietta. I got there when they opened and got right in and out. They're only letting so many people in at a time. And this woman had a fit saying this store is big enough that folks won't be close to each other. Oh my God. No, she didn't say that, man. She said they're letting only certain people in at a time. And this woman said, isn't the store big enough that folks won't be close to each other? She didn't want to stand in line and wait her turn. Wow. And see, that's the naive part of what's going on here. Everybody wants to get rid of it and come out the house and be able to basically frequent around in normalcy, right? The way it used to be. But it's not going to happen unless you stay your ass in the house and the numbers of new cases decrease and we get the all clear. You know, we start being able to frequent certain areas due to the bans being lifted by your local, governors or mayors or whatever, and the president. But I'm gonna tell you, down here in Georgia, man, they're losing their freaking mind. I don't see the people, just shouting and distress about telling these people to stay out of public freaking parks right beside each other just because they want to see water flowing down off the rocks at a state park. And they say they want to get some fresh air. Listen, stop fooling everybody. Right here in Georgia, it's no fresh air. The pollen count is horrible right now. The allergies is horrible right now. You're not getting out the house for no damn fresh air when the pollen count is exceeding any other normal limits in another region. Our pollen count down here is just unbelievable. And for somebody to say they wanted to get out to the park just because the sun was out, I mean, it makes no sense, man. You ain't trying to get healthy. You ain't trying to have this COVID-19 virus lift, But just like Denise said about a lady is saying the store is big enough, that's the ignorance, right? That's the ignorance shining through, that people are not going to really bow down to this virus until they get it, until they start saying, they start clearing their throat and they start feeling a little queasy. And, things, do you see these people on the ventilators? Like, these people are breathing extremely heavy. Like, this is beyond panting. It takes me back to when I was watching I Am Legend. And when, Will Smith walked down there and whatever that was laying down and it was breathing hard. That's how these COVID-19 patients are looking when they're breathing through the ventilators. Their chest is rising. It's not the normal pulse or the breathing pattern that you would have as a human being. You know what I'm saying? Then he said they took out hoops down here at my complex. Man, that's good. They need, hey, look, according to what neighborhood you in down here, you need to take the whole rim. Take the entire rim off the backboard. Else you're going to have individuals going down there to shoot hoop. And then if the park, say for instance, is not off limits, and if you're playing half court and just say it's only like 4 or 5 people on the court, that's less than 10, right? So according to where you at, if they haven't issued a 24-hour lockdown, they might be good. But they need to take down the whole rim, the nets, everything, man. Pure ignorance and lack of knowledge. Many people don't watch the news anymore because they stream TV now. A lack of information, except what they see on Facebook. And if they only see what their friends share, we're all in trouble. Hey, that's true words there, Denise. Real talk. We are, before this social distancing, I would tell people, we've been there already. We've been separated. Look at the kids. The kids are socially disconnected from the parents. The kids are socially disconnected from one another. We're not social distancing right now. We're just forced to call it for what it is and tell people, hey, we have bans in place right now. The schools are out. And instead of you participating in a gathering of 5 or 10 more people, we suggest that you don't do it and practice social distancing, right? That's what we are hearing. But it's been in effect long before now. Just like Denise just said, kids, if they're going to look online with the streaming service, as parents, they're just going to look on social media for what people are posting on timelines and not really watch their local news stations, then yes, we're going to be uninformed, y'all. We're going to be uninformed. Believe that. Skip said, North Carolina, they're losing their freaking mind. Their party is just like it's no tomorrow. And let me ask you this question, Skip. Like, what are they going to do if we are supposed to start receiving? The start process, Skip and Denise, is that the stimulus checks are scheduled to start processing out this week. Primarily to the front runners would be the people who have direct deposit set up with the RS and everything. So what's going to happen if they receive the checks and just say they get the 1,000 or 1,200 or whatever the case, and they blow it in the first week they get it, and there's nothing left, and this goes and extends over to the end of May? How are these individuals going to survive? What are we going to do? Because right now, the language is very helpful in keeping people's spirits up and them telling us that, guess what? The checks are going to start to filter out to the public this week, the first part of April. So there's some light there's some light that people are looking at saying, damn, I feel good. I just can't wait to get that check. Can you imagine what's going to happen? People are going to run to the little stores, get beer, get food that they don't need, and they're just going to put it on social media and have fun doing it. They're going to go get some smoke, and they're going to have a party. But when the high comes down, y'all, when the buzz, when all that filters away, and you spent 3/4 of your stimulus check, and no telling if we would ever see a second one, what are you going to do? Denise said they did nothing but the polls, Wow, they took the backboard too? Damn, they ain't playing. Cat Taylor said, how Scotty, my allergies kicking my butt. Some days I have been quarantined since the lockdown was issued. Everybody definitely, shout out to Cat Taylor, boxing #1 fan. One thing that's being misinterpreted is how much people are fragmenting quarantine. Like, people don't want to take it for what the word supposed to mean. Quarantine should mean somewhat similar as a synonym to freaking confinement. You should be in a space for a long period of time and you stay your ass there. That's what quarantine should be. Confinement all the time. But quarantine at this day and period, the only reason that it's not a stay in your damn house is that it's a virus and they have no idea where it's going and where it's coming. We have no idea. We just have to be reactive to a new case. They're telling us right now, don't touch your face with your hands, right? They tell you that, right? Don't touch your face with your hands because you get it from your hands to your face, right? But yet you have people with these masks on, and they believing that the mask is going to stop any airborne COVID-19. It's not going to stop anything. Those little medical masks you have on, they're not going to do anything. They give you self-confidence to know that I'm protecting my, I'm protecting my breathing pattern or whatever. But real talk, if this was airborne primarily than it is by physical contact, we'll be in trouble. We'll be in absolute trouble. We'll be absolutely in the worst condition than we are now. Denise said, I stream, but I also have WSB Atlanta playing most of the day. I don't want that check. Well, put it this way, Denise. I'm pretty sure if, it comes down to it, if you send them a letter and say you don't want your stimulus check, I'm pretty sure they'll give it to somebody else. That's real talk. All I can say to these is just get the check, man, put it somewhere, because we really don't know what's in store. Is this going to subside, or are we going to face any even deeper restrictions from this COVID-19? We don't know because people ain't following the rules, y'all. People aren't following the rules. And the even worst part of it It's a lot of people just don't know how to cook. I'm serious. When I had to go to the grocery store, it's some stores that has the front door cordoned off, right? So they're taking orders with people standing outside. So you have to stand outside until you receive your food. So they have to write the order down, take it back. If you're not familiar with the restaurant, then they might give you a menu. You have to look through the menu outside, and then they take it in there and fix your food. We have some people that's unable to cook a meal. We have people that have families that's really don't know what to do. Like, they go to the store and buy all these microwave meals for their kids. The kids before the freaking COVID-19 weighed 55 pounds. You know what I'm saying? After COVID-19, they might weigh 150 pounds. You can't just have your kids sitting in the house eating Hot Pockets, pizza, all these other fast food, eating ice cream, popsicles, and then your kid's like, hey, I was trying on the jeans, because you know these kids like wearing these freaking form-fitting clothes this day and time, right? Your kid up here in the point of crisis telling you, well, I try to try on my jeans and they ain't fitting. And hey, if you from where I'm from, they're gonna tell you what? Hey, your fat ass need to stop eating there. You've been up here eating up the house, eating all the chocolate chip cookies, eating up all the bacon. Take those goddamn jeans off and put some shorts on. You ain't going no way anyhow. Get your ass downstairs or something and then start doing some push-ups and jumping jacks. I'm telling you, man, it's some people that just don't know how to cook a meal and survive in these times. Serious. I don't know what we're gonna do, y'all. But I know I can only speak for down here. When these people get these checks, that's not gonna teach them how to cook. That's not gonna teach them anything. You're talking about individuals that have to stay in the house and watch old ass movies. You know, the way it was when I was coming up. They have to find some type of alternative activity. A family that you never really interacted with before, now you might find yourself playing Uno. You might find yourself playing Monopoly, Scrabble, Connect Four, all these board games. And then when that play out, you know, you get some Netflix. You know what I'm saying? And then when that run out, you know, your kids in there playing video games. Okay, that's going to get tired because the kids really can't get away and get out of it, you know, and go outside. Then you're going to get the attitudes. You're going to get the arguments. You're going to get, you know, the back and forth friction in the household. And then you're going to have people wanting to leave the house when they was told to stay their ass in place. And that's where it's going to all go bad, because you're going to have individuals going to other kids' house trying to get away from their family. And you're going to go to somebody else's house. They shit all fucked up. So you're just going to go over there because it's a relief from where you at right now. And hopefully their parents will fix you something to eat, you know, fix their kids something to eat so you can get something to eat. Because these families, all of them, I'm going to be honest, they're not firing up the stove cooking anything. They're basically telling these kids, if they even there, if they still have a job, they just telling them, hey, go in there and grab a piece of bread. We're running low right now. So grab a slice of bread, you know, put some peanut butter on one side, jelly on the other. And, you know, grab a bag of those party chips in there, the small bag of the party pack. And that's going to be your lunch. That's how I grew up. I grew up off eating mayo sandwiches. You know, when the food ran out, mom wasn't going to the grocery store till next week. That means you had to fix a mayo sandwich, which I look back on that shit. I was like, damn, that's disgusting. You know what I'm saying? Damn, eating a mayo sandwich, no meat, because all the bologna is gone. We didn't have ham, so all the bologna is gone. And, you know, middle class, every now and then you might get hot dogs. So you can get the can of pork and beans, cut up some hot dogs, some wieners, whatever, heat them up, and then eat them You know, that's a carb, so that hold you over a little bit. Oh, Denise said, or they eat nothing but sodium rumble noodles. Man, you know what? Speaking of ramen noodles, I'm not gonna lie. In the military, I ate a lot of ramen noodles, man. Um, it's really no way to get around the sodium unless you eat your ramen noodles with no freaking liquid. The broth that's in the ramen noodles, if you pour all the broth out of the cup, which is the flavor of the actual noodles, it will decrease the amount of sodium per the cup. But it makes no difference because the noodles itself is still high in fat content. And like you said, you can go to Costco's, you can go to Kroger, anywhere, and buy a bulk load of ramen noodles, man, and tell your kids, hey, this is what you're gonna do. What flavor you want? You want the shrimp? You want the chicken? The beef? You know the two favorite flavors are chicken and shrimp. You know what I'm saying? Ain't nobody trying to mess with the beef. So you're talking about kids probably going through what? 6 or 7 cups of ramen noodles a day? Man, that's crazy. That is crazy, man. And unfortunately, Denise, you are absolutely correct. You have some families that's definitely going to feed their kids ramen noodles. Well, tell their kid, hey, eat the ramen noodles. You know, look, my son is like going on 15, you know, and he could honestly tell you in his lifetime, he probably had 1 cup of ramen noodles. 1 cup of ramen noodles in his lifetime. And that was the time when I just wanted him to try it. I say, oh, check this out. Because he saw me eating it. And I said, you want me to make you one? And he had like 2 forks, two fork. You know, he just had 2 scoops. And he said, no, I don't like that. That's it. But I ain't gonna lie, man. If you hungry enough and you cook some ramen noodles, man, them Jones taste good. You know what I'm saying? I ain't gonna lie. The ramen noodles, you cook it right. If you don't overcook it, it tastes really good. But back to reality. Okay. You say your son loves to eat them all the time. They're good to a kid. Look, if your kid metabolism is good, cool. Because I know I ate a bulk load of crap back in the day when I was growing up, and I ain't gained a pound. You know what I'm saying? I was good. Not until reality set in and I understood how old I was getting. You can't just eat those ramen noodles like that. You can't eat a donut or 2. You can't just go up there and grab a double scoop of ice cream, eat that cheesecake. You know what I'm saying? I love cheesecake. But the reality of it, if you get it from the right place, per se, Cheesecake Factory, man, I'm going to tell you, if love was a dessert, if you could date a dessert, my God, strawberry cheesecake, people. If you can find a woman who enjoys strawberry cheesecake, you know, it's just not the same when it's low fat. You know what I'm saying? You have to get the rich, the rich cheesecake, man, with the strawberries on top, man. That shit is just an infatuation like no other, man. Seriously. That should be able to get anybody through rough times in their relationship. Just get cheesecake. Seriously. I'm not even, you know, bloviating the point, man. I'm just saying, get some cheesecake. Okay. Say he is married to my daughter. All right. That's what's up. Well, good on him to be able to eat those ramen noodles. You know what I'm saying? Because after a while, it just seems like they really put pounds on in the wrong places. The wrong places, to be honest. But I'll tell people also in this time, eggs. You have to utilize your eggs, even though, you know, eggs are high in protein. Believe it or not, eggs are very high in protein. But a lot of people are not going to eat eggs because they want to cook them a certain way, or they don't want to put anything on them. So, you go get some turkey bacon. A lot of people down here in the South, they like the real bacon. Make some egg sandwiches. You know what I'm saying? Eggs don't cost that damn much. I grew up off egg sandwiches. Fried one or two, probably one egg back in the day. And, either, put it in between one slice of bread or two, put some jelly on one half, and eat an egg sandwich with some bacon, man. You have to basically improvise in these times, people. You have to improvise. That's real talk. You have to come up with a bit more of a viable solution instead of going up here spending all this money in Publix, and you weren't expecting your kids to be out of school this early. So you have some selfish ass kids who really ain't trying to help mom and dad out. So they up here eating up the house and saying, hey, when the next time you gonna get some Apple Jacks? I just bought some Apple Jacks 2 days ago. Well, we need some more. And the milk, it's not that much milk in there. And what happened to the Pop-Tarts too? The Pop-Tarts are gone. There's hardly any bread left. They start ramming off orders, right? You know what I'm saying? We live in a different era. Back when I was growing up, you wouldn't even dare tell your parents that we out of shit, because you already know you out. Just wait till the grocery come in the house the next week, and that's when you can be happy again temporarily, according to how many people you have in your house. But these kids these days, they in there on their phones, they talking, come in, eat, go back, disappear, come back in and eat, and then they want to tell you what's missing. There's nothing in there. Well, what they need to be introduced to is SpaghettiOs, pork and beans, and freaking cut up sliced hot dogs. The eggs, fried bologna. They need to go back to the small essentials of survival when it comes to eating. Seriously. I guess ramen noodles plays a role in that too. I also wanted to touch on, mixed martial arts. The biggest fight that Dana White was trying to make in the midst of this COVID-19, he wanted to keep UFC 249 on the schedule. The reason why that calendar was so important was you had Khabib Nurmagomedov, undefeated, the current lightweight champion, and Tony Ferguson. Tony Ferguson has been in the shadows for quite some time. These two have been scheduled to fight 4 previous times. Recently, this week makes a 5th time. It is now off the schedule. Why? Because Dana White, salute to Dana White. I'm glad he was able to pretty much remain defiant as long as he possibly can before he was just basically forced to shut it down. Dana White was trying his best to find out other alternatives to make this fight card happen. He was going around trying to find out any locations by all means necessary. Let's keep this fight. Let's keep this fight, right? So in the wake of, you can't have more than 5 or 10 people in the area, no social gathering, gyms start to close down. So from what I'm hearing, Khabib's gym, in the process of him in fight camp, I'm not too sure what Tony Ferguson was doing, because he's been known not to have sparring partners and just basically do what the hell you want to do. You know what I'm saying? So Khabib Nurmagomedov, gym, he trains at AKA, right? Once that shut down, he doesn't have a resident over here in the US, so he went back over to Russia. And for his understanding that Dana White was going to make the fight and take it across the water outside the US and make the fight card. But unfortunately, in recent days, the travel restrictions have floated to the surface, and they are staying there for quite some time, just like oil to water. So Dana was like, well, Khabib, they talking back and forth, and Khabib say, hey, guess what, Dana? I can't leave Russia because they put a travel ban. I can't leave Russia. So people up in arms saying Khabib ducked out of the fight. He didn't want to fight. I think that's far from the truth. Khabib has a wife that resides in Russia with him, okay? If he didn't have a resident over here, Is he supposed to stay with friends? Is he supposed to freeload off people? Is he supposed to stay in a hotel? Is he supposed to stay in his car and wait for Dana White word? Dana White didn't invite him to his house. If Dana White really wanted this fight to happen, he would have said, listen, Khabib, I'll pay you double the extra amount of dollars if you stay here locally in the U.S. until I try to get this fight card made. I'll pay for you and I'll pay for your team and everything else. But that wasn't the case. Dana White was trying to scramble and get an arena to make this fight card happen. And there's no way it could have been anywhere in the U.S. because all the bans and restrictions. So now Khabib Nurmagomedov is unable to leave Russia, which forced Dana White to say, you know what? You're off the card, but I'm not canceling the card. I'm still in the process of trying to find another place for it to happen. Look, without Khabib, I really don't know if it's worth the time and effort for Dana White to keep this card afloat. I don't know why he's stressing. I remember the first half of it. Foreman, as we call them, boot camp. The Foreman phase of it, I understand, because it consisted of Ferguson and the Nurmagomedov. I know these two fighters right here, people were eager to see them finally clash. After 4 canceled previous calendar dates for appointments to meet in the cage, they was canceled. So this fight right here meant a lot for Dana White to keep it active. Now that Khabib is out of the picture, you have other names floating around to potentially step in and face Khabib Nurmagomedov. And it's not that many names, to be honest with you. The one good name that's out there that has 2 losses is Justin Gaethje. Justin highlight Gaethje, right? And I don't know why certain people are just sitting up here frowning and talking shit about Justin. Like, we're talking about a guy who 98%, I mean, 98% likely of the top tier fighters in his weight class, he would give a strong showing, man. He's got a different style. Dude is known to stand in close quarters, close the door, lock it, and you go at it and may the best man win. It's not always the best style with 4-ounce gloves on. He's taken a lot of punishment in his career, but people will come and see Justin Gaethje fight. Would we want to see him fight Tony Ferguson in replacement of Khabib Nurmagomedov? Absolutely. Absolutely, people. I would pay to see Justin Gaethje fight Tony Ferguson. Absolutely. Because the 2 fights that Justin Gaethje lost, wrong game plan. Wrong game plan. The reason why I would say it's a bit wrong for Justin Gaethje because he was in there with another top tier competitor that was willing to strike just as much as he was. But Justin Gaethje, being who he is, unleashing his whole entire arsenal, just like it's an automatic weapon, not trying to switch it up, not trying to slow it down, you know what I'm saying? Give a different rhythm, a pace to the fight, just straightforward. You can't do that with other high-level fighters. You can't do that. And Justin Gaethje found that out. Now, was it entertaining? Both of his stoppages? Absolutely, it was. Justin Gaethje, it was extremely entertaining. But he's taken too much punishment. I remember James Vick saying how Justin Gaethje was slurring his speech, and it's going to be a privilege to knock his ass out and sleep him. And it was quite the opposite, y'all. Justin Gaethje went in there and put James Vick to sleep. Why? Because that's what Justin Gaethje is, man. He's always out of the holster, y'all. He's very entertaining fighter to watch. And I would really like to see how he goes about fighting a fighter like Tony Ferguson, who, if you look at the history of his opponents, he has this very eccentric type style where He uses his elbows really, really nice. And also another thing Tony Ferguson can do is he can strike very well off his back. He's a very different type of individual. I don't want to call him crazy, but he is somewhat of a crazy type striker. He's not going to give you nowhere close to what you believe that you should expect from a striker. Tony Ferguson is definitely going to switch it up. He's going to give you different looks. He's going to give you different angles with different tools to go with it. But you know what? Justin Gaethje, man, he's like a 50 cal. Justin Gaethje, he just keep on firing heavy ammo until someone breaks. If it's him that breaks, he's willing to go out on his shield, man. That's what I respect about him. You know, Gaethje was a former champion in a neighboring organization. Then finally he got the call up to come over here to the UFC. And he performed well, but when he went in there with those two individuals, you know, Eddie Alvarez and Dustin Poirier, when he went in there with those two individuals, you have to understand those are two of the most high caliber fighters that you're going to run into at that time, fighting in that division. I'm pretty sure Gaethje learned his lesson. But I definitely want to see him step in there against Tony Ferguson. Absolutely, I would see that. Danella McCray, what's good? What's good? Salute. Antonio Robinson, cheesecake. Yeah, man. Cheesecake, man. I'm telling you, cheesecake should be able to keep any type of relationship together at any times of inclement weather, man. Cheesecake, strawberry cheesecake is delicious. Next, after cheesecake, I will have to say carrot cake. Those are the two. Danella McCray said Khabib lives in Russia where it's travel ban. Dana White knew this and could have put up Khabib in his camp and his family. But no, he's a cheap SOB, so Khabib is out. Yeah, I was expecting or assuming that Dana White would have had communication with Khabib, especially his primary headliners. His headliners was Ferguson and Khabib, right? There's no way Khabib should have left the U.S. in light of the travel bans and Dana White not know about it. Dana White should have, in fact, knew about every move of Ferguson and Khabib. Not so much Ferguson because he stays in the U.S., but more so Khabib. And for Khabib to exit out and go back home, I can assume one or two things. I could say that Khabib purposely did it because he didn't see the light in Dana White making this fight card happen. So he kind of got the wind. He kind of got wind of the travel bans that was actually, popping up from everywhere. So Khabib, being who he is, very close to his family, he said, fuck it. They can get a hold of me in Russia. I'll be over in Russia. If you want me, send me a ticket and I'll come back over here. You know what I'm saying? So it's sort of the same thing that happened with Leon Edwards and Tyron Woodley. Tyron Woodley was supposed to face Leon Edwards, and somehow, some way, Dana White was trying to make that card. And that was right. That was the card that was expected to be after the last blackout they had in Brazil, right? And I think this card was I forgot where it was going to be. But anyway, Leon Edwards could not gather his team and himself and take a flight out of London back. There's no way the timeline would have permitted him to be over here in that amount of time. So Dana White has to accept that what he's trying to do is really going against the grain, y'all. Dana White is trying to prove a point. He's trying to say, it's not so bad. I can make this shit happen in the storm without getting wet. Watch me work. But look, they shut him down. They trying to tell you, hey, we're trying to keep your fighters away from being infected. We're trying to keep others from being infected. But you continue to try to throw these cards all over the world. But guess what? You have to leave the U.S. to get where you're going. Dana White may indeed have a PJ. But you think he's going to take his entire freaking fight card on a PJ for a blackout, it takes money. You know what I'm saying? You're gonna fly your whole entire fight card, which is probably gonna require more than one PJ, according to the size of it, right? To wherever location you're going, feed them. Man, it's gonna be an expensive bill. Put it that way. It's gonna be a very expensive bill. And for Dana White to continue to push this effort, I salute him for his consistency. You know what I'm saying? I salute the man for standing in the fray. You know, wanting to get the fight card made, proving to the fans that I can work this shit out, man. Y'all making a big deal out of nothing. No, it's a big deal. You got people dying. You know, you got people being loaded on the back of big rigs and trailers in NYC. It's a big deal. May not for Dana White because his bank account, the zeros kind of keep him healthy. But I'm going to tell you, him trying to continue to make this fight card outside of Khabib, it may be a disaster. It may put him back in the same way. I'm not saying financially, but I'm saying in a way that when they received a phone call from the guy who they purchased the UFC from, when he was in dire needs, the company wasn't making any money, and they got word that the guy wanted to get off the UFC, and they ended up scooping it up for $2 million. They scooped the UFC up for $2 million. And even themselves went through hardship, but they ended up selling it for $4 billion, y'all. Who won in that? $2 billion to $4 billion. I mean, $2 million to $4 billion. Who won out on that? Man, come on, man. You know, I want to say, Dana, just let it go, man. Just let this fight card go and reschedule the fight for a sixth time once the bans have been lifted, and we can all relax as you know, fight fans. We're in a better place. We're feeling a lot better. Our headspace is different. Right now, the headspace of a lot of individuals may not be to tune into a fight card, especially if it's PPV. People may not have the finances to do it, man. You know what I'm saying? That's my only question with Dana White. You know, if you're going to put on a card like this, man, it cannot be PPV. The economy right now is just not able to reach in their pockets and pay for something miscellaneous that's not going to provide food for their family and themselves. Just shut it all down, man. Wait it out. This time right now, it sucks. Appreciate that comment, Danetta. Everyone who tuned in, Denise, all y'all, appreciate you stopping through. So we'll see what happens with Billy Joe Saunders and them. You know, like I said before, just breaking down, itemizing just a little bit deeper. This suspension and this time, it does nothing but bring exposure to Billy Joe Saunders. That's all it does. That's all it does. It means nothing to get suspended while everything is shut down. There's no boxing. It does nothing. Billy Joe Saunders is probably laughing at that shit. Like, if they would have said, okay, we're stripping you of the WBO title, then that might have pinched him a little different. You know what I'm saying? They might say, oh, shit, it's a vacant WBO super middleweight title out there? Okay, cool. That might have been much more different, but all he got was, you know, some more airtime. Now his name is in the media wave with the segues, the little microcosm, you know, new media segues is out here talking about him, talking about how much of a dummy he was to even think about going out here posting a video like that. And then also, you know, the counter video from Shields basically explaining in the counter active aggression to say, you know, to punch a dude in their groin, you know, and being specific about it. Like, we already don't know what the male genitalia consists of. You know what I'm saying? So just to give that point of reference, it'll die down in a little bit. You know what I'm saying? It'll die down. I want to give a salute to Adrian Bronner. Hold on, y'all. I want to give a shout to Adrian Bronner. He just had another kid, y'all. 7. So, AB, about billions, has just had another kid. Salute to you, man. You know what I'm saying? Congratulations. So, AB has just had his 7th child with 6 babies' mothers, right? And that's not even a concern of mine. But he's been able to keep it together and have a big family. So he has 7, mostly boys, and that's a good thing about it. He has a possibility of one of those boys potentially being a boxer, and that's going to be some big shoes to fill, seriously, because any kid that's coming up and they have a celebrity father that's in the sport at a high level, it's big shoes to fill, and we just don't see often that the kids come out here and across the board and break out the shadow of their father or their mother. You know what I'm saying? But he just had another child. I'm not sure what the gender was, but they did mention it that once he was let out for his DWI, she had just had the kid. So I salute him, man. And it's good he's able to have a big family. If I had to do it all over again, I probably, at certain times, instead of being a bit disciplined, because look, OG told me early in life when I was dating these older women, OG told me, whatever you do not spend majority of your life giving all your money to different women because you just couldn't say no. He took out a calculator and broke it down. He said, check this out. Child support for this amount of years, just give or take three babies' moms for 18 years. You know what I'm saying? You in the service, and he's breaking that shit down. I was like, God damn, that's a lot of money. I mean, I'm talking about, I would have had to do at least about 30, 35 years in the military just so I can get out this joint when my kids are old enough. You know what I'm saying? Like, I would have been in trouble financially. But he said, whatever you do not work just to support your kids and their mother, because you're going to freaking find yourself in a no-win situation. And the OG was right, man. Like, absolutely right. Because if you look at what you have to pay to a kid, the males in the situation, in the equation, we're always going to be second fiddle to the woman because they're the bearers, right? So when it comes to the court system, it don't matter some of the time. But check this out when it really don't give a damn. Military, when your girl call up there and actually speak to somebody, look, if you think the military don't have snitches that'll sit up here and relay information quicker than the ones out here, you sadly mistaken. Let me tell you how this shit works. A female, just say you're dating a female, you've been kicking in the club or whatever, right? Let's just say, for instance, you in a foreign country. You in a foreign country. Let's just say it might be Japan, and you get a female pregnant, right? So in Japan, the Japanese can't come on base. And a lot of times for the guys that's just rolling through, they might be there for 6 months to a year. They don't let the locals know that. They just out there clubbing and having fun. So just say she pops up, you get a Japanese girlfriend, and she pops up pregnant. You want to talk about informing. This Japanese can talk to the right person that's out in town and say, "Excuse me, konnichiwa, what are you doing there? Can you tell me what's the number to base? I'm trying to look for a U.S. Marine. I know his name. I know how he look." Listen, American or not, they will snitch on you, man. They will cater to that Japanese to the end of the road. They will basically say, "Oh, you sure it's his kid?" Once you say, hi, his kid. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? That's how they talk. That's how Japanese talk, right? Just give me a few days, I'll find out. So they go back and they give the Japanese the information. And what a lot of people don't know, that Japanese resident, a lot of the females, like the generation is coming up, even when I was over there, they know English. They knew English pretty good. You know what I'm saying? They're taught English in school, especially when you have military that's in your country. They teach you that, you can get by better with your job and everything, being bilingual, speaking Japanese and speaking English. So anyway, this citizen will provide the information, and also I'm speaking off a situation that happened, all right, to one of my troops, right? They will provide the information and also make the phone call for the Japanese to speak to a Japanese that works on base to be able to translate what the female needs to get across to the command. They will do that shit. They will look out. So they get the information, they call in, they get in contact with the Japanese representative that's there on base to translate for the Japanese nationals. That information is quickly basically processed. Sometimes they do a thorough investigation, sometimes they don't. But they will bring it to the highest in command to a point, the one that's in charge of that section. Once they find out who the service member is, they pinpoint it and they get in contact with them. So you have to go to the office and you have to say, "Hey, do you know so-and-so, Nasayami Kabuki?" And then he can be like, he can lie, right? He say, "No, I don't know Nasayami. No, I can't remember. Do you know any Japanese girl that's potentially pregnant with your kid right now that you've been dating?" No, they be dating multiple people. This way it gets a little fuzzy, right? So you're up there trying to save your life. So they keep on asking. And then according to who you're dealing with in your command, they'll say, "Guess what? This is what's going to happen. I'm going to drive you to this particular location, and we need to see if we can identify if she knows if she's talking about the same person." At that point in time, you in the oh shit factor. You're like, "Oh shit, they're gonna take me out here to see if this chick can identify if I'm the one that she's been dating." And look, not all Japanese girls are hoes. You know what I'm saying? It's easy for a service member to say, "Well, she was just dating any service member." Take him out there, he gets freaking ID'd. It's him. So now, in the service, right? They look at it like, I gave you the opportunity. The worst thing you can do is lie to anybody that's in charge of you. Lie to them as a Marine. It's fucked up. Like, you can go out here and get into a drinking incident, and they might look, a little bit, okay, we'll deal with it. We'll get you right. You're gonna have to take a little punishment. But the lie and steal is a whole different story. So he gets ID'd by this Japanese chick. She's like 3 months in. What they do? They put him on legal hold, y'all, until the chick has the baby. And then during the process, you may indeed have to pay a little bit of your check to this Japanese girl because she's pregnant. They don't even know if the kid is yours or not. They just going off the word of just Japanese national is saying you and her was dating. That's real talk. Believe it if you want to. It's real talk. I'm not fabricating this at all. I'm talking from just one experience that I had with a troop of mine. I had to take him to the orders of somebody else to get ID'd. She ID'd him. He had to stay there until the chick had the baby. They did a DNA test. You know, over there, it's quick. They did a DNA test with this dude, and it was his kid. All that to say, hey, looking back on being disciplined enough to say, I didn't want to pay all my money to child support. It would have been great to have some kids close together, 3 or 4 kids. You know what I'm saying? Because military life, you according to what your job is, you are maneuvering, man. You're like bobbing and weaving. Your family can be 12 years apart, man. You might have kids that's 7 years apart. You know, you might be out of a marriage and a marriage. That shit's crazy. But anyway, you know, that's just what I learned from my OG earlier, man. Whatever you do in life, don't just sit up here and give all your money to a female. Now, that doesn't have anything to do with divorce, but I'm just saying 18 years child support in some cases for multiple kids. You can pay damn near, you can go your whole entire 3/4 of your life paying your kids and the baby's mother for child support. It's a beast, yo. But anyway, congrats there, AB. Didn't want to get off topic, but congrats. Wasn't something that doesn't happen, but that should happen, man. People want to sit up here and think it's easy. You know, in some cases where they got money, man, some of these guys are able to say, okay, guess what? You sign a non-disclosure, whatever, and if you do get pregnant, it ain't on me. You're not going to be up here, you know, taking me for child support, taking me to court for 18. I got to work. If I'm behind in child support and you know I'm a fighter and I ain't getting paid you know what I'm saying? Some of them have that agreement. You know what I'm saying? Like you never hear Lil Wayne that has multiple kids. You never hear of this dude in court consisting for child support. But from what I understand, man, his family is close knit. You know, his kids respect him. All that shit, man. Some guys, some fathers have that dynamic with their baby mother, whatever it may be. But anyway, I can't wait till these. Hold on for a second. Okay, that was an email dealing with the PFL, the Professional Fight League. All right, cool. That's good shit. All right. We'll see how that works out. But people, that's all I got for now. Before I get off topic too much. But Billy Joe Saunders, stay your ass in the house and somebody take that man's phone before he end up with no title. You know what I'm saying? Take his phone away. Put him on timeout. Give him freaking two hooks to the body. And then, you know, a knee up top. Jump outside the regular rules of boxing because you want to be a dumbass. Live boxing returns to Japan. Boxing companies elsewhere dip into their archives. So they trying to return boxing to Japan? All right, cool. All right. Damn, Daniel Jacobs said that David Benavidez is the strongest at 168. And Caleb Plant is the most beatable in the division. Ooh. Damn. As champions, brother. Damn. Okay. What is this? Let me go into this article. Daniel Jacobs said, there's a lot of words that I just can't take as you know, when it's coming from Daniel Jacobs, man, it's not a lot that I can just digest as being conducive to my thought process. Like, I just still look back at when he had the opportunity with Triple G, when he had the opportunity with Sergey Derevyanchenko, you know, when he fought Canelo Alvarez. He said, based on what he has seen, Jacob considers Caleb Plant the most beatable of the 4 fighters who own super middleweight titles. Jacobs assessed a group of undefeated fighters, which includes WBC David Benavidez, Billy Joe Saunders WBO, and Callum Smith WBA. During the Instagram live interview, the promoter Eddie Hearns on Monday, Jacobs had this to say. To say who's the best is kind of hard, but I would say, I mean, all those guys are top, Jacobs said. I would probably put Plant at the bottom of those names that you just named. I think Plant is good, but I think, you know, I think he can be beat. He's beatable. I see a lot of flaws in this game. Daniel Jacobs, man, come on, bro. Look, the people was extremely hyped when Daniel Jacobs pulled up on Charlo. What we? Like, he said, oh, at the right time. Man, we actually believed there was going to be some type of meshing between these two fighters. We thought just maybe we can get a competitive fight. It was just all hallway talk. It was all banter talking about millions. That's all the shit turned out to be. Just banter talking about how much money somebody took. Now you're going to pull up to a motherfucker, right? And you're going to act like it's all about the smoke, but then you're going to mention money? You're going to mention about what he wearing? You're going to mention M's when you're talking to another top-ranked fighter? It just went left real quick, man. And for Jacobs to move up in the division after losing a fight that probably would have catapulted his career to a new level of notoriety, he lost. He lost, man. Jacobs said, but as far as Benavidez, he's probably the strongest that I've seen amongst the guys that you just mentioned. But now that I'm coming up the super middleweight division, it's interesting. And now these guys have my attention, and I'm going to be studying, looking forward to what's next, what's best for me in my career. Look, to be honest, real talk, like, how do we know that you're any different than the ones we seen in middleweight? Like, we was expecting so much from Daniel Jacobs at middleweight for you to win the big fights. You know what I'm saying? We commend you for your story. We commend you for your survival. You know what I'm saying? Real talk. But we're talking about boxing and some of the matches that you had, that it would have been nice for your name to be in the history books to win that. But for you to go up to another division and say that, you know, hey, Caleb Plant got flaws in his game. You know what I'm saying? Out of all the other 3 champions, whether it be McCallum, Smith, Benavidez. And I'm not even going to mention Billy Joe Saunders because he's on timeout. But out of all the other three champions, he's going to say that when it comes down to just say Caleb Plant and Billy Joe Saunders, you trying to tell me that really Billy Joe Saunders, hands down, is better than IBF champion Caleb Plant? Did y'all see the last fight? Come on, man. Now I'm not gonna lie. David Benavidez is a problem. David Benavidez, WBC champ. I'm glad he was able to get his title back, and he was in a tough fight with Darrell. I get it, man. Salute to him. And Callum Smith, tough fighter, man. No doubt. But just starting off the bottom layer, you saying that Caleb Plant is less of a competitive fighter than Billy Joe Saunders? To each his own with that. I see De La Hoya is calling on Floyd Mayweather for a push-up contest. Everybody's doing this push-up, challenge. It's only a matter of time before you have two people on live together put money on it. You know what I'm saying? Believe me, people are going to start getting their stimulus checks and they're going to start betting on freaking push-up challenges. And I think it's good. Not to toot my own horn, but I won a push-up challenge on a ship when we was headed out to Korea on deployment. I forgot how many service members. It was the Army, Navy, and the Marines on there. I forgot how many it was, but I was the last man standing. That's real. That's no cap, as these millennials. That's no cap at all. UFC Dana White says boxing is very fucked up. He went on an epic tirade, and Dana White says, first they mentioned that both promoters agreed. We're talking about Frank Warren Heavyweight Podcast. UFC President Dana White has launched an epic tirade about the state of boxing and declared the sport a shit show. All right. So both promoters agreed that boxing needs to take the UFC lead in matching the best fighters against one another more often. With Hall of Fame promoter Frank Warren hailing Wilder versus Fury and now postponed. Dubois versus Joyce as an example of how he tries to do just that. White has been rumored for some time to be ready to move into boxing under Zuffa boxing umbrella, but seemed to distance himself from any such move. Instead of diving in head first, this is White talking. I've been taking my time, and it seems more the sport continues to go on, the more fucked up it becomes. I thought I knew, but you don't really know until you're in how fucked up the sport really is. The sport is a shit show, like you mentioned earlier. It's hard to articulate to you how messed up the thing really is. Frank Warren launched a full-throated defense of boxing, though, and said, I've been doing this a long time and time again. And it said time and time again, events generate record revenues. Boxers are some of the highest paid athletes in the world. That's facts. Boxing is, the pay scales of boxers is much more elevated than that of mixed martial artists, MMA. That's facts. He added, it was great working with top-ranked Al Haymon's company, PBC and MTK, and getting the whole thing together. And I'm looking forward to working with them in the future. Both promoters agreed that they were eager to get moving again with shows and when they were given the all clear. Frank Warren said the fighters want to fight and the public want to see want to be entertained. I agree with that. We do want to be entertained, but we do understand there's a pandemic that's active. And the caveat of Dana White just may be educated enough in his primary field of expertise, and that is running mixed martial arts and everything that he's been able to do in that scale. With them bringing in Reebok over there at the UFC, it really took thousands off the table of these fighters and potentially future forecasts of millions for fighters who had sponsors and was able to have those sponsorships provide them revenue in a time like this. Seriously, if you were the UFC, Reebok just about monopolized that whole gamut. When he brought Reebok in there, it drops the pay scales of fighters tremendously. And it basically lowered their pay scale and what they was able to earn inside the UFC and from their sponsors. So with him going into boxing and being that boxers, in my opinion, does get paid much more than MMA fighters that's on the same level, I'm curious to know what his spreadsheet is going to be if he intends to bleed over into boxing somehow with Zuffa Boxing in the near future. Is he going to be able to pay these fighters what they used to from being with other promotions? You know, is he going to be able to get big names? We said the same thing about the Zone, but do we know if fighters would say, well, this relatively new, Zuffa Boxing? I'm not sure about this, because if they smart, they will look at how the fighters are getting paid in the UFC. I'm not talking about the John Joneses, the Magomedov, Cejudos, Stipe Miocic, Daniel Cormier, Amanda Nunes. I mean, a lot of these fighters aren't getting paid near what some of the male fighters will get paid in boxing. You know what I'm saying? You think about what Adrian Broner is getting paid when, you know, he is not really on a win streak, but he has the star power. You know what I'm saying? He's a 4-division champion. So what he was able to do earlier still is kind of getting him that residual right now, where fans want to see him because he's a showman. You take all the other fighters that's on the higher scale, they're basically getting paid potentially more than the fighters that's on the elite status over there at the UFC. But talking about, you know, tournament style formats, right? The email I was just talking about, the Professional Fight League, the PFL provides an 8-man tournament, and you get $1 million at the end of the day. So if you're good enough to be in the tournament, if you selected or whatever, I mean, that's a good projection. That's a good pay period to get $1 million at the end. You know, we just had Bellator do the welterweight Grand Prix, and you had Rory McDonald and Douglas Lima in the finals, and Douglas Lima was able to pick his title back up and win $1 million. I mean, hey, that's big time money. Shout out to the phenom, Douglas Lima, 4-time champion. You know what I'm saying? That's a big deal. So we'll see how that plays out, people. We will see if, you know, Dana White somehow transitions over to boxing or addition of sport to his business ventures. But I'm pretty sure him being around long enough and boxers seeing what UFC fighters or MMA fighters in his organization or whatever are getting paid, I'm pretty sure they're not going to separate too much when it comes to the disparity in pay scales when it comes from mixed martial arts to boxing, if he intends to pick that up. I just don't think he's going to pay his mixed martial artists that's fighting at the highest level of the UFC and then bring in boxers under Zuffa Boxing and pay them extensively more. I can't see Dana White doing that. I cannot see Dana White providing that pleasure. Seriously, I just can't see it. If that's the case, there's a lot of MMA fighters, mixed martial artists are going to be saying, you know, I'm going over to put some gloves on. I mean, I'm about to go to the 8 and 10 ounce gloves, man. Fuck all that. If they're getting paid that much more than I am in a sport where I have to wear 4-ounce gloves to get kicked in the head and elbowed, I'm about to go over there to boxing. Well, it's been a pleasure, everyone. Be sure to tune in, as always, on all platforms. Subscribe to the channel, man. I know y'all are dug in to the bunker at COVID-19, man. Georgia, stay your ass in the house and stop gathering around the parks and acting like you have to put this phrase out there. I need some fresh air. You breathing in your goddamn house. You know, relish in the moment. Just stay breathing in your quarters. You know what I'm saying? But subscribe to the channel, man, and absolutely follow me on IG. And I will be back on here periodically through this COVID-19 crisis. I wish everyone the best, you know, during this crisis. I hope no one is suffering or catch the illness of COVID-19. And I wish that, you know, everyone, you know, that's supposed to, that has direct deposit with the RS is able to receive their checks. You know what I'm saying? And hopefully it sets you afloat a little bit longer, man, because this may indeed, what we're talking about, potentially May, June. That's a lot, man. That's a long ass time. But in the meanwhile, turn up and tune in to World Combat Sports. Salute.